All right, welcome back to Happy Hour with Heather and guest. I'm that other dude, Andrew, and today I'm joined by Heather.
Hello.
We don't have any special guests today from the post office or otherwise, but that's okay because today we're going back to the formula, and it was my turn in the rotation, and I ended up picking a band. I believe the pronunciation is Schubmodul, but it could be Schubmodul. I'm not sure. And they are from, hold on, they are from Germany, Bochum, Bochum, Germany. Um, and yeah, I happened to be on YouTube, one of the channels that has music that we like. Um, and I saw the album cover, and I was just like, okay, this needs to be something I listen to. And for like with most of these situations, the music turned out to be really good too. So I will kick it off. Actually, we're going to talk about a single by a group called Ain't first, and then we'll talk Schubmodal. Um, Ain't is
Okay.
from is that if that's cool with you?
I'm gonna give I'm gonna give away my age here, but I remember I remember in school the rhyme, like the ain't a word 'cause it ain't in the dictionary. But ain't is a word because it is in the dictionary. But I come from olden times when ain't wasn't in the dictionary. So when I see ain't, that just popped into my head.
Sure.
But the band this ain't is from Italy, and the single is called For Those Who Trusted in Suicide. And I know he sent you the single, and I saw that this is the first single from his upcoming album, The Rope Springs Eternal. I couldn't find a release date, but it said coming soon. I really like that. I like this song, and it makes me excited to hear the full album. And this is by Stefano D'Angelo. And I want to thank Stefano for putting the lyrics to the song on Bandcamp. I really like how the song flows and how it goes from lighter to heavier. And I thought the vocals were great too. The song has different instruments and sounds, but it doesn't overcomplicate the song. And the screaming guitar at the end, it reminded me of sirens, like police sirens or ambulance sirens. And I don't know if that was intentional, but I thought it was really powerful.
Yeah, I this occasionally Heather and I will get contacted by bands to ask us to review specific tracks or albums or things like that. And I think we had listened to a song from Ain't previously. Uh, so I was excited that apparently he liked what we had to say about the first review. Um, this one had I when the track kicked on, it reminded me a lot of Depeche Mode. That's sort of like not that it's necessarily the same music, but the sort of the melancholy sound to it, coupled with the subject matter and the lyrics, I really got the sense that like if you were to play this right behind "Enjoy the Silence," it would make sense to me. So I'm excited to see what the rest of the album looks like. But I enjoyed this track as well. I thought this was a
Yeah.
good listen. So I urge all of you out there. The track is available on Bandcamp. Check it out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean you summed it
And
up beautifully.
I went and followed I followed him on Bandcamp, so hopefully I'll get notified when the album is released.
Sure. Yeah,
And
definitely. It's nice to discover contemporary bands that are making great music. I haven't really heard much Depeche Mode influence elsewhere recently. So this was nice to kind of reminisce, even if that was unintentional. It was
Yeah.
nice to kind of reminisce.
Yeah. And it's kind of in that alternative
Yeah,
pocket. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well put. Shall we? So that was in, I think, Abruzzo, Italy, I want to say. And now we're going to, I'm just going to spell it Bochum, Germany. Um, yeah. So what did you, and the album that they have more than one album out, but the album that I really focused on was the latest release that came out this year, called Lost in the Kelp Forest. So, what were your thoughts about Lost in the Kelp Forest?
Yeah, I listened to their first release too, and then I listened to their newest record, Lost in Kelp Forest, and that's an awesome name. I love that name. It seems like the first album had a space theme, and this one has a deep sea theme. I don't know what would be more terrifying, being lost in space or in the depths of the sea. We have a great universal theme of man versus nature. Man always expects to win, but nature has a tendency to prevail. The music is instrumental and it tells a story through the music, and there's spoken word samples. And the samples, they sound old-timey, giving the vibe of a spooky found footage horror story. The songs, they weave in and out of dreamy post-rock and heavy psychedelic to a more technical progressive rock and stoner rock. And each song has a different feeling, and then there's a build up to the final song, which concludes the story. And I love how on the last song, it's called Revelations, and he just lets loose on the guitar and just riffs out. It's awesome. And I also really like the atmospheric sound of the guitars in the song Emerald Maze. I really like that song too. The drum pattern at the beginning, and then the expansive atmospheric sound of the guitars. And I was reading some reviews online, and this album got really good reviews, and it seems to be very well received. So I'm glad that you brought it to my attention.
Thank you. Yeah, it was, this was one of those things. I feel like the universe now knows what I listen to and will sometimes throw me bands through the algorithm to check out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this was so, some research that I did, which I don't know how accurate it is. So the second album, Lost in the Kelp Forest, uh, and the band being from Germany, this was, I will add them to the list of German bands that I've really begun to appreciate. So far I have Goat Explosion, Slow Green Thing, and now Schubmodul. I don't. There are probably more that I'm not thinking of, but those three are definitely making wonderful music. So check them all out. Um, Now I think the name is means thrust module. Schubmodul, I think, is German for thrust module, or a shear modulus. And I got this from Wikipedia, so it's got to be accurate. The shear modulus is one of several quantities for measuring the stiffness of materials. All of them arise in the generalized Hooke's law. And then Hooke's law is something about, you know, friction versus what have you. But it definitely lends itself to the idea of a submarine, or something going down to the ocean and feeling the pressure. I think that's the. And then Lost in the Kelp Forest is also the title of a SpongeBob SquarePants episode. So I don't know if that was uh, just coincidence or not. But yeah, like with the band Cavern Deep, this was one of the first bands or albums that I've heard that had kind of like a nautical deep sea theme. A lot of times when you and I have listened to spacey or psychedelic music, there's the element of blasting off and going into the stratosphere. Um, this one, and I think they sum it up really well on Bandcamp, instrumental music that contains elements from different styles, ranging from hard as nails to dreamy, often wrapped in a robe of psychedelic space sounds. Stories are not told through singing, but through creative songwriting inside the listener's head. Schubmodul merges the worlds between crisp, progressive rock and traditional stoner that encourages you to swing your head without a throttle. So I think that's a great way to articulate their music. Um, and yeah, it was interesting. It felt like I was listening to like an opera where there were different acts. You know, each song led into the next one, um, and it was cool. I I interpreted the woman who was speaking as being like an oracle who is kind of like telling you, you know, the future or proclaiming really cool things. And it does have like an analog recording type feel. So it does sound. And um, I found lyrics, I guess, to Silent Echoes, and it has to do with descending in a submarine. But it's really cool. Um, So the second stanza is, as we altered our guise, we are convicted for our perpetration. I can see light dawn in the dark, purging away my fear, like tides wash off the shores. My burden of restlessness disappears. So it's a really cool, you know, even though those are spoken word samples, it's a really cool complement to the music. Um, and this was one of those albums, like with Slow Green Thing, when I would listen to a track and think, okay, well, this is my favorite song on the track. And then I would hear the next one and be like, oh, no, 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 wait. Okay, this is my favorite song on the track. And I think that happened 3 times. I think I listened to uh, Emerald Maze and then the Renegade one. And then 4 minutes into Silent Echoes, I was like, no, 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 this is the track. So I kept being that guy that was changing his mind. But yeah, it was really cool to kind of flip it. You know, you and I tend to sometimes really enjoy psychedelic space jams where you can just kick back and relax. This one had the same feeling, but you're descending. And along with that, there is that sort of ominous quality to it of like, how low are we going? You know, when is the pressure going to build? And I really did enjoy how they were able to tell a story through the music. Um, and I'm glad that that made its way into the algorithm. And it's a really cool cover of a diver, um, you know, one of those old timey diving bell divers swimming through the briny deep. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it was like smacking me in the face. Like, dude, if you don't listen to me, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, sometimes those album covers, they just jump out at you and they just compel you to listen. That's happened to me several times where I saw the album cover and I was just like, wow, the album art is so good. It's like
I
this
think,
album just has to be great.
yeah, that was. I remember there's an author named Peter Blauner who talked about writing. I think his book was called Casino Moon, and the first cover was sort of an abstract cover that, and the book didn't really sell well. And then they switched the cover to like a boxer sitting in the on the stool in the corner with his head hanging, and the book ended up selling a lot better because it was a much catchier cover.
Yeah.
And I think that's lost in the day of digital and, you know, just getting singles and stuff,
Yeah.
where you don't really see the album art isn't as front and center. Um, I think you miss out on those diamonds in the rough sometimes.
Yeah. I think the Iron Maiden albums got me got
Sure.
me hooked on hooked on album art, and I bet just holding just holding the physical record
Yeah,
and looking at the art. I I'm I just remember those Iron Maiden albums, and I think that's what got me hooked on it.
I think I remember hearing Scott Ian from Anthrax talk about seeing, Iron Maiden's records in the store and thinking to himself, okay, that's what this music is supposed to look like. Like
Yeah.
they nailed what the music is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I tried to. I'm glad when people put albums on YouTube that have the album cover on it, and that I mean that's what hooked me with it with this group. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad that it did.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, great music. I would say go check them out. I'm curious. I mean, I did listen to the first album, not as intently as the second one, but I'm sort of curious to go back now and compare the
Take
different
a journey through space.
with the journey through space.
Yeah.
So, all right, awesome. Well, thank you. For I'm glad you like the music, and next week it's your turn in the rotation.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. That'll be
And
fun.
yeah, go check out Ain't and go check out Schubmodul.
Yes. Definitely.